think the young men that I had the opportunity to coach was the reason behind the successful season we had. I came in with a plan, with a vision of what I wanted this program to look like. I conveyed that vision to the young men in that first team meeting, and they bought in. Again, I told them that we'd be successful when everyone bought in. I didn't give them a time frame. I just told them that when everyone bought into what we were trying to build, that we'd be successful. And fortunately for myself and for this program, that senior class kind of took that by the horns and ran with it. And they did a great job of leading the young men underneath them. I had a great group of seniors: Courtney Brown, Jonte Bear, Glenn Hazley, Denzel Lewis, Jordan Johnson, the list goes on and on. Those guys did a great job of ending their career on a positive note and really setting the tone and the temperament of what this team is supposed to look like.
Well, Coach, describe some of the challenges. In addition to you being a first-year coach, you didn't have a coaching staff initially when you first got here. The first time you had become a head coach on the collegiate level had to have been a challenge. And a new place, at a high school stadium, not even your own stadium. But describe some of those challenges that you were able to overcome effectively last year.
It's hard to pinpoint one thing to say it was just tough to overcome. We took the mindset when we got here of no excuses. That was also conveyed in that first team meeting, that we weren't going to make any excuses as to why we couldn't be successful. We were going to win. We were going to win now. And so regardless of the facility, regardless of the venue, regardless of not having spring practice or whatever we were thrown, we weren't going to use that as a crutch. But probably the toughest thing that we had to deal with early on was not having spring ball. It didn't give us a chance to really install the offensive and defensive schemes to the guys. So the first time they really got to do some really good football work was in fall camp this time last year. But they made it through it. Again, they didn't make any excuses. They just went to work. When it was time to work, they went to work. And again, we were able to have a pretty successful season amidst all the obstacles.
Now, as a coach, what do you feel like was a turning point? I know a lot of coaches feel that I felt that in jail at this particular junction of the season. Was that the experience with you last year? And if so, what point do you feel like it came together?
I also think it was the Alabama A&M game. With us going up later in the game, I think by 2 scores, and then they stormed back and took a lead late in the fourth quarter. And that was the time where our team could have folded. They could have quit. They could have said, well, you know what, we'll get the next one. But they rallied together. Defense was struggling a little bit. Offense had kind of stalled out a few times, but they found a way to get it done. And after that game, I think they began to see that, that we just believe and we just stay together, we can be a pretty good football team. And after that point, we only lost 1 game, which was the Grambling in the State Fair Classic.
Okay, one more question about last year, Coach, if I could. I remember in Mississippi, a rainy day, you guys were preparing to take on the Black College Football Champion, Alcorn State Braves. Not only the Black College Football Champions from the previous year, but a team that you helped lead to a championship the previous year. I mean, a big part of Coach Willie Simmons was on the other side of the football field. But describe that for us and what led to the Panthers' success against the #1 team in the country.
It was a fun game to be a part of, to look across the sideline and see guys that I had grown with for 3 years that really influenced me and my coaching style. Coach Hoffman gave me an opportunity to coach back when I was unemployed, and so it really meant a lot to be in that position. But our young men understood that regardless of the magnitude of the game in relation to myself and Coach Hobson and Coach Street being on that staff as well, we knew we had a job to do. We were still right in the thick of a conference race, and so for us, we knew that it was important for us being a game behind Grambling to take care of business. And so we were able to make a couple of plays early in special teams to get us ahead. The weather was bad; it rained the entire game. But luckily we were able to make a few plays early in the game and then sustain a late rally from Alcorn, which I knew they'd do going in at halftime. But it was a great game, great experience, and again, it was another building block for this team because, again, it allowed us a chance to overcome adversity, and I think it helped us grow and continue to mature to hopefully become the team that we can be.
Okay, it seemed that your offense was clicking early on, but your defense took a while before they came together as a cohesive unit. But what do you feel that led to that turnaround defensively when you start stopping people in addition to putting points on the board?
Well, one was continuity. For that group, it was their 4th defensive coordinator in 4 years. And so to learn a new scheme, not having spring practice probably had a more profound impact on the defense than the offense. So for them to learn a new scheme, for us to get the right combination of guys on the field. We made a lot of lineup changes early in the season to figure out who our best 11 were. We moved off the locket from running back to cornerback, so we had to make a few changes to finally get the right combination of guys on the field. But once they started to understand exactly what Coach Street wanted from the group, they began to play at a higher level of confidence. And that was the biggest thing we always talked to them about, being a confident group. When they play confident, like they did against Texas Southern, like they did against Mississippi Valley State, Alabama State, they can be the best defensive unit in this conference by far. So they just have to continue to be confident, but confidence comes to knowing what you're doing. So when we know what we're doing on that side of the ball, we can be confident, we can play with that swagger that we need to play with, and we'll be successful.
Well, Coach, you lost an All-American running back and kick returner last year, Jonte Abear. You lost a very valuable running back in Courtney Brown, a 1,000-yard rusher for this program. How do you plan on filling that void in the backfield?
Well, we have some guys that I think that are ready to step up to the challenge. Javante Ham, the only returning guy from that group, so he's in year 2 into this system. He had a really good spring. Stephon McCray is a transfer student that we brought here that started his career at South Florida, so he's played FBS level football. He's a big back, so he understands the college environment. And we have 2 high school running backs that we feel really good about from Dallas area that were both very productive in high school. So we'll get it done. And of course, Trey Green knows that he may have to carry the ball a little bit more to make up. But you can't replace a Jonte Abear with one person. I mean, he was such a dynamic football player for this program, not only from a rushing standpoint, but receiving the ball. He was our lead receiver, and also in the return game. So we're gonna have to make up those yards, 200 plus all-purpose yards in other ways. But again, he's a great player for us. We're gonna miss him, but every year that's part of the playing the game. You're gonna lose some great players, and it's time for new players to step up into that new role. And I'm excited to see who those guys are gonna be this year.
Talk about the guys up front, the offensive line. These guys don't necessarily get the credit they deserve, but it can't work without them. Talk about your offensive line this year.
Well, Josiah Freeman's a guy that I'm really excited about. He's taken over a leadership role after those 3 guys I mentioned earlier vacated, and had a phenomenal spring. Really unselfish guy, plays both tackle positions for us, but he's kind of taken that role as the leader of the team, even probably more so than Trey Green. So I'm excited to see what he can do. Sean Pierce had a really good season last year as a first-year starter. I'm excited to see him come back off of injury and be healthy, finally healthy, 100% healthy. I think last year he battled a lot of injuries throughout the season. Cleveland Simmons is a graduate student who I think is eager to really get some great playing time this year. Chris Rowe is in the same boat. A local guy from Houston that's finally got his chance to come in and be a starter for us. And there's some other guys as well, but we'll be as good as those guys are. They understand that. The good thing is they have a great coach in Coach Alex Jackson. He's going to do a phenomenal job of getting those guys prepared for battle, teaching them the ins and outs of the offensive line positions schematically. And they know that they got to be a dominating force for us to be as successful as we need to be. But they've had a great off season. I think they're all looking forward to the start of camp to really get out there and compete as a group and try to become the most dominant group in this conference.
All right, Coach Simmons, last year you came in, a lot of question marks on what's going to happen, how they're going to respond, and a lot of distractions to start your career off at Prairie View. This year you got some new distractions coming in. How do you avoid the R factor with the new stadium coming in, and then how do you not fall into what they call the sophomore jinx, that you had good year last year, and how do you keep the guys focused, and what are you telling them to move forward for 2016?
Well, the one thing is, when we got here, we talked to our team about building a championship caliber program. We didn't talk about having a great year. We didn't talk about being a one-hit wonder. We talked about building a championship caliber program, and that means consistency. That's year in and year out. So last year we weren't going to use any excuses. Well, this year we're not going to use any either. Definitely the fact that we didn't have a home stadium last year, we didn't use that as a crutch. We're definitely not going to use the fact that we have a brand new $60 million stadium as a crutch. So for us, it's about the process of what it takes to be a champion. Our 7 F's. Have faith, play with great fundamentals, play fast, fight, overcome adversity every day, finish everything we do, be a close-knit family, the closest group on the field, and have a bunch of fun playing football. That's what we focus on. We don't focus on the external things, the who's playing, who we got to replace, what we'll pick to finish in the league. We don't focus on those. We focus on those 7 F's. That's why they're the first thing they see in the locker room when they walk in every day, because we want them to focus on that. And if we do, we'll be successful.
Now, I know you've been called the offensive guru, but you got 10 starters returning on the defensive side of the ball. You know how I feel about defense, Coach. You got to feel good about your defensive unit for so many past seasons have been the quote-unquote Achilles heel of the Panthers football program. How do you assess them coming in for this upcoming season?
Well, the 10 starters is definitely a great thing to have, but the most important person I think coming back on that side of the ball is Ralph Street, the defensive coordinator. I say it again and again. This group for 4 or 5 years straight has had a new voice every year. So you can't expect the team to be dominant when they're having to learn a new scheme every year, having a new philosophy every year, a new voice every year. This will be the first time these guys have had the same defensive coordinator for 2 years in a row. So I'm excited to see their growth in this defense in year 2. First year at Alcorn, we weren't very good on defense either. We weren't very good anywhere, to be honest. But year 2, they began to understand the schemes a little bit more. They began to play with a lot more confidence because they knew where they were going. They knew the checks before the offense even shifted in motion and all the things that they needed to do. So now that they know the schemes, we can focus on the whys now. Now they know what to do, we can start focusing on why does Coach Street call this defense against this offense? Why do we want to play this coverage on this down? We think they're going to run these routes. So now they're becoming smarter football players, and it will allow them to be better football players. And so I'm excited. Spring was a battle every single day to move the ball against this unit. So I'm excited to see them line up against another group. And I think we can be, again, the best defense in this conference. All
right, Coach. My last question. A lot of guys have been asking and accenting the Grambling game. And they say that's that one that got away. And I know as a coach, you try not to focus on that. But did you have a couple of sleepless nights thinking about the what-ifs, the couldas, and the shouldas?
I have sleepless nights after every game. I'm just one of those coaches that win, lose, or draw, I always look at what we could have done better. I think that's what drives me to be the best coach that I can possibly be. You know, I'm not I hate to say I'm not a results-oriented person. That the wins and losses is the only thing that matters. To me, is how we play. I want to play a clean football game. I want to play a game that we're mistake-free, that we're flying to the football, that we're playing as a unit, that we've overcome adversity early and late, and that we put up a good product for the fans. And the Grambling game, I didn't think we did that, but there were some other games that we won that I didn't think we did that. So Grambling wasn't the only game that I left with that feeling inside that we could have played better. Again, we won 9 games, but probably 4 or 5 of those I thought we could have played a lot better. And we talk to them every week about playing that perfect game in all 3 phases. Offensively, you know, every time we enter possession is with some type of kick, an extra point or a field goal. Defensively, getting them off the field on 3rd downs, creating turnovers, not giving up big plays. And in special teams, winning the kicking game by having big returns, pinning them deep in their own territory, making them drive the long field. So until we can have that complete game, I'll never be satisfied. And I think as my players, they say, Coach, you don't enjoy the wins enough, because I'm always critical of how we played and feeling like we could have played better.
Coach, talk about the maturation of your quarterback, Trey Green. I remember early in his career, he was basically a run-oriented quarterback. You evaluated his skill set, and he became one of the top passers in college football. But I'll talk about what you saw and his potential when you first started praising his skill set.
Well, the first thing that jumped out to you was the fact that he could overcome adversity. You know, when a guy has overcome 3 knee injuries and catastrophic injuries, you're talking about ACL tears. You're not talking about knee sprains or your MCLs. You're talking about, you know, complete tears of his knee 3 different times, and he's overcome all 3 of those. It showed you that he's resilient. It showed you that he wants to be a great football player because he's continued to bounce back. Many guys after that many injuries would just say, you know what, football may not be for me. You know, I'm gonna look at my long-term health as opposed to this immediate reward. So the fact that he was able to come back from that said a lot to me about who he was as a person. And then his physical skills jump out at you. You know, he's 6'3", he's 225 pounds, can throw a football 70 yards in the air, probably runs a 4.5, 4.6 40, can stick his foot in the ground and make people miss in the open field. So physically, he's as good as anybody that's going to play college football this year at this level. And so for him, his biggest, I think, growth, maturity, ability to grow is mentally, his mental approach to the game. You know, studying film more, really understanding every defense that we play, knowing all the checks that we want to have on offense, knowing where everyone's supposed to be, understanding the protections up front, where we want to slide the protection to make sure we got the best protection possible. So just really becoming a true student of the game. And like he says, he wants to be Coach Simmons on the field. That's his goal, is to be an extension of me and Coach Black on the field, and that's something that he's worked hard at doing. And again, I'm excited to see him start because he had a great spring, has really stepped up as a leader, and now has a chip on the shoulder because he feels like he got snubbed in the all-conference preseason honor. So again, I think it was a good thing. I really do think it was a good thing for him because it kind of kept him humble and put things in perspective for him. That, and just like we said, we got to earn everything we get. You know, because we were picked to win the West doesn't mean anything. I told the team, I didn't leave Birmingham with the trophy in my hand. They just picked us preseason. We still have to work to win a championship, and he understands in order to make first team all-conference, be player of the year, be up for All-Americans, he has to work for it. And I think he has that mindset. And again, I'm excited to see him get started, see how far he can take us.
We'll talk about the impact these new facilities have meant to recruiting since they've been in place.
Well, we live in the age where kids like stuff. It's just the nature that we're in. High school student athletes, especially in the state of Texas, want to see great facilities. Many of them come from great facilities because in this state they invest a lot of money in the high school athletics. You have 3 separate $60 million high school stadiums in this state alone. I don't know if anywhere in the country they have 3. They only have another one outside the state of Texas. So they're used to seeing great facilities, and now they can come to Prairie View A&M and see, better facilities than they had in high school. They can see a first-class locker room, a first-class training room, a first-class weight room, a real Division I facility. And that's what I think every high school student athlete wants. They want to feel like they're at a Division I first-class program, and now we have the ability to show them that. So of course it's allowed us to recruit a higher profile student athlete. We've had many of them on campus already, and they've all been blown away by what they've seen. So it's definitely going to help. But again, recruiting, tell the coaches, the best thing to help recruiting is winning. And we have to win football games, but continue to sell the Prairie View A&M brand in a first-class manner. And we'll attract the student athletes that we want to be here. At the end of the day, I still want to recruit young men who want to be at Prairie View A&M. That's what we talk about. Let's recruit guys who want to be at Prairie View, that will take great pride in being a part of this rich tradition that we have, that we've built here. And so the facilities will definitely help. Playing on TV will definitely help. But the biggest thing that'll help is winning football games and allowing them to see a great product that we put on the field every Saturday.
Okay, one final question from me. Most coaches advocate offense, defense, and special teams. Special teams part is not discussed that much, but certainly emphasized a whole lot by coaches like yourself. But I talk about what the Panther fans can expect from that third entity, that special teams.
Well, to me, that's the difference in the game. Offensively, I expect us to be a high-powered offense and score a bunch of points. Defensively, I expect us to hold people to a few points and create turnovers and give us a chance to get the ball back on offense. But special teams is where the field flips the most. That's why we spend so much time on it. There's not a single play on offense where I can guarantee that we'll average 40 yards. There's not one. But every time we line up the punt, there's a chance for a 40-yard field swing. Every time we line up to kick the ball off, that ball's going to travel 50 to 60 yards in the air, and we're going to have the chance to pin them down inside their territory. Every time we line up to kick the field goal, there are points on the line. So the importance of special teams, because you're not going to get as many reps as you do offensively, defensively, we spend it, like I said, we're going to spend more time on it than anybody that I can think of, because we know it's important. But they can expect to see a sound unit, a unit that is going to take great pride in being on special teams. We want guys that are enthusiastic about being on special teams, that want to get on the field and run down full speed and make a tackle on kickoff, that are unselfish guys, that want to be the first ones down on punt and tackle the returner, who want to protect and get the punt off, not get punch blocked. And so it's a very unselfish phase of the game. I think more so than offensively than defensively to have. That's why they call it special teams. It takes special individuals to be on those units. And luckily for us, we have a lot of special individuals on this team that embrace that unit and that want to be great on that unit. And we talk about who's going to be the next Nick Bruce. We had a guy that led the entire country last year in block kicks. We want to find out who the next guy is going to be now that Nick Bruce moved on. And we want to create that same mantra that Virginia Tech had back in the late 90s and 2000s, where they were known as special teams youth, where every year, every game, teams knew that when you line up to punt the ball, there's a chance that Virginia Tech's going to block it. When you line up to kick to them, there's a chance they're going to run it back for a touchdown. We want to have that same mentality here, and our guys understand that, and we're going to go to work tomorrow, hoping to achieve those things.
Hey, how you doing, Coach?
Good.
Hey, listen, I wanted to know, what do you have to say for, traditionally, Prairie View's always had a really good fan base, even through some of the more difficult years. What is the word that you have for the Brazos Valley area, this Waller County area, and Prairie View alumni for this upcoming season?
Well, the message I have is that this great facility that we have, this 15,000 seat stadium, it was built for the student athlete, but it was also built for the fans.
Okay.
We built this because we want to see the fans of Waller County, of Harris County, of Dallas County, of East Texas, all the great alum that we have throughout this great state and throughout this great nation. We want to see them fill the stands and support these student athletes because they put in a lot of hard work and sacrifice to be able to do what they do. So we want to see a packed house every game. We understand Texas Southern should be a sold-out game. We know homecoming probably going to be a sold-out game, but we want the Mississippi Valley State game to be sold out. We want the Arkansas Pine Bluff games to be sold out. We want the Alcorn State games to be sold out. So every time our guys run out of the tunnel, we want them to see a packed stadium. That means their fans are supporting us. Our fans are supporting us. That means that they're really buying into the program as a whole, and that they're investing in these young men. Because of course, to do what we do, it takes resources. Ticket sales is one of the biggest things for resources. We gotta get people in the stands. We have to be able to generate some revenue for this stadium. It's not paid off. We have a lot of money left to pay this thing off. So we need ticket sales. We need to be able to operate. We need to be able to get our guys here for both sessions of summer school and do all the things that it takes to be a true first-class program. And luckily for us, we have the ability to do it. There's nothing that can prevent us from doing that because we have the fan base, we have the resources. Now we're trying to put together the vision for them to do so. And I think our athletic director, Mr. Robinson, has done a great job doing that. Now it's just a matter of getting it done. And so I encourage everyone to together, myself included, let's get it done. Let's invest in these young men. Let's come to games and support us. And because when we win as a football team, everyone wins. Prairie View A&M wins as a whole, and that's what we're trying to get done here. We want to build a championship program in order to build a championship university.